Welcome to the Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Vantage Fit, the all-in-one AI-powered corporate wellness platform developed by Vantage Circle.
Welcome to another episode of Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host Dipshi, and today I have with me health and wellness speaker Kristen Harper. Welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on your show. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us here today, Kristen.
You're most welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, even us. So let's start with you telling us about your journey in the area of health and wellness.
Okay, that's a great question. I would say that I became very passionate about health and wellness back in 2001. So that was many years ago when I was 22 years old. And I got really into natural health, so a holistic way of healing mind, body, and spirit. And it all started for me because when I was younger, as a child, I struggled with unrelenting fatigue. Even after a good night's sleep, I was still exhausted the next day. So I tried a lot out there. I saw a Western medicine doctor as a child. I tried, seeking different avenues to increase my energy. I wasn't getting answers. I had tests done. I even went into a hospital later on in life to get tests done. Nothing was helping me. I still had this low energy. And then I discovered hair mineral analysis. Back in 2001, I believe, when I was 22 years old. It's a test that tests minerals in the hair as well as toxic metals. And I discovered that I had weak adrenal activity at a cellular level. So my adrenals were weak. And adrenal glands are very important because they're involved with energy production and they produce hormones. And so I followed this program, taking a natural approach, healthy diet, nutritional supplements, healthy lifestyle, meditation to gain back my energy. And that's when I really became passionate about natural health. This is all about a natural approach. When I was younger, I never had an interest in Western medicine. I mean, I know there's a place for Western medicine, especially if someone's been in an accident or that, it's not like an emergency. But even when I was younger, I was never into Western medicine. I always loved the natural approach. I didn't even want to take medicines when I was younger.
Even I sometimes think about it, and I also like to follow the natural approach. And even trust me, I also do not like to take medicines, but sometimes when the need arises, we have to take it. So, coming to the topic today, which is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So, I believe it is a mental health condition that is triggered by traumatic experiences of the past, etc. Am I right?
And you are correct. PTSD is definitely a mental health condition, and I'll give you some examples here. So, basically, we have two minds. We have the unconscious mind and the conscious mind. So, the trauma that someone's experienced is held in the unconscious mind. Also, limiting beliefs are associated with the PTSD. So beliefs such as I'm not good enough or other limiting beliefs, and those limiting beliefs are held in the unconscious mind as well, which they need to be released. But I would say that every aspect of health is affected if you have PTSD. It's not just mental. I would say that you can have negative emotions such as anger, emotional pain. It can affect mind, body, spirit, your emotions, energetically as well. So I can give you some examples as far as like physically, what you can experience when you have PTSD, fatigue, memory issues, attention issues, having pain in the upper back because you have a closed heart chakra, constipation. Basically your sympathetic nervous system branch is overused and your nervous system is unbalanced. So it can really slow things down and can affect your digestion. You can have constipation. Also can affect your thyroid as well, because I mentioned about the heart chakra earlier, but also your throat chakra can be closed as well, which can affect the thyroid, difficulty with communicating, You can have, because of the thyroid issues, the thyroid imbalances, it can lead to hair loss. You can end up with lines on your skin, like fine lines. You can have weight gain, even white hair strands because of the thyroid imbalance, having no hunger, and also concussion as well can be associated with the PTSD. And then also wanted to bring up the other aspects of health, energetically. We have 7 main energy centers. When you have PTSD, your chakras can be affected. I would say, for the most part, all the chakras can be affected. And I'll just really focus right now on the heart chakra I mentioned earlier. So you could have a closed heart chakra, and also the throat chakra can be closed, difficulty communicating, having thyroid imbalance. When you have that closed heart chakra, it can really cause upper back pain as well. And when you have these chakra imbalances, it can really affect your health. I mean, it just, so it's really important to get them balanced to take back your power. It's like you lose your power. To take back your power, that you need to set boundaries, speaking your truth, not being codependent, because you actually can be codependent as well when you have PTSD. And then spiritually, it's important that we have a quiet mind, that we have inner peace within, that we're fully in the present moment. We're aware. And with PTSD, what can happen is, spiritually, it's too much energy in the mind. When you have trauma, what happens is energy tends to go upwards. And so we have too much energy in our mind and excessive thinking. We have lack of awareness. We have lack of grounding and centering. There's a lot of chaos that in our lives. So I would say it does affect every aspect of health, including mental health.
So how much intense is it, do you think? And what to do when PTSD is triggered?
Okay, so I would say that it is very intense. It's one of the most intense health conditions that anyone could ever go through. It's actually I would say it's the most difficult health condition to overcome. Now, I've been through in my past, I've been through an eating disorder. I had that for 9 years. I had an addiction. I did go through PTSD. That's why I feel like I have a lot of experience to share with individuals about this health condition. I've also been through narcissistic abuse. So I had the PTSD and then went through the narcissistic abuse. But I would say going through PTSD is way worse than actually going through an addiction, because I've been through both. And addiction is very tough, but PTSD is way worse. And I would definitely say it's one of the worst health conditions to have. And it's so difficult to overcome. It can take years. It can take decades. But my goal down the road, once I finish, because I've gone through a lot of education and schooling, but my goal is once I finish all my education, and I really would like to focus on programs where I'm helping individuals with PTSD, so I can give people a shortcut instead of them having to spend years like I did having to find solutions. I can give people a shortcut. And then just when you mentioned like what to do if you're triggered. So let's say that one day you're having a very difficult day. You have worry, you have excessive thoughts, you're depressed, you have negative emotions. One recommendation I would have is as soon as that happens, stop what you're doing. I'm a huge fan of sound healing. What sound does is it brings the trauma from the unconscious mind up to conscious awareness. And over time, in time, it will actually let go of the trauma that's held in the unconscious mind. So, and it's very calming. It will quiet the mind, but it does bring the trauma and limiting beliefs from the unconscious mind up to conscious awareness to be eliminated. So what I like about tuning forks, I've done a lot of education with sound healing, but tuning forks are great. So for example, there's a set of tuning forks, which are harmonic spectrum set, which consists of like these musical intervals. So let's say you have 2 tuning forks. You have C, which is 256 hertz, and then you have D, which is the note D, which is 288 hertz. You play them together. It will actually reduce stress. It will release stuck and blocked energy. This is really good for people that have trauma because it'll release that stuck, blocked energy. And then after using these tuning forks, you can move on to the perfect fifth tuning forks, which are perfect fifth pairings. There's F2, which is 85, C3, 128. And these perfect fifth pairings are more about balancing, especially balancing the chakras. Also, I want to say that if you're going through you're getting triggered, it's okay to stop what you're doing and rest. If you're overwhelmed with everything, there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. It's all about self-care. Stop what you're doing. If you're overwhelmed, it's okay. Just stop what you're doing and lay down and rest. If you need to isolate from people, it's okay. Take care of yourself. And also you can do grounding, which is really good for the first chakra. It really brings energy down the body, really ground your feet with the earth. There's grounding mats that you can plug into an outlet, for example, or you can go out into nature. Let's say you're at the beach, or you can go to a park where there's grass and go barefoot and, have your feet connected with the earth. And also I would say another thing that's really nice is sunshine is relaxing. The near infrared sauna therapy is great. It consists of red heat lamps. But I would say with PTSD and the journey that I've been through, initially, both of these, the sunshine and the near infrared sauna therapy, can be a little stimulating for the nervous system, can be a little uncomfortable because your nervous system is so out of balance. So initially, they're not ideal, but as you incorporate it, once you add these holistic modalities in, because not just one holistic modality is not enough. There's numerous holistic modalities that you need to let go, to improve your health and to overcome PTSD. So once you add in these additional holistic modalities and you balance your body chemistry and get healthy, eventually you won't be so sensitive to the sunshine or the near infrared sauna therapy. And then also I want to say, because I've been through narcissistic abuse as well. Also, if you're triggered, so if you've been through abuse, what can trigger you is, let's say that there's an abuser who abused you. What can happen is you can have anger towards that person and emotional pain. How could this person was treating me so bad? How could they have done this to me? You have this anger and emotional pain. So what you need to do is detach, meaning you don't think about that person. So you don't need to be going through old emails, reading what the person had sent you. You don't need to be looking at their picture. You don't need to find them on social media, or you need to completely detach, because if you look at that picture or read that email, it's going to bring back the memory, and you're going to be triggered, and you're going to feel anger and emotional pain. So you need to detach. I also think what's important is to set boundaries. We should all be respected. So if someone's not respecting you, it's okay to set boundaries. So those are, and there's other recommendations, but I don't want to get into everything here because I have a lot of recommendations.
And like you mentioned that you also went through it at a very young age. So do you think there is a specific age when PTSD triggers the most?
And that's actually a good question. I would say that based on what I have researched, the National Institute of Mental Health indicates that it can happen at any age. And also, I'm really passionate about what's happening with Palestine and Israel. I've been following what's going on over there. And I've done some research. There's even a high prevalence of PTSD among Palestinian children as well. So any age.
Okay, so it can happen at any age, right?
Yes.
There's no specific. Yes. Okay. And do you think it mostly is seen in women?
Yes, absolutely. And so you ask amazing questions. So yes. So according to National Alliance on Mental Illness, they mentioned like numerous research studies. females are twice as likely to experience PTSD than males. So women, the reason being is that women are subjected to specific types of trauma. They're more prone to trauma such as rape, sexual assault, sexual abuse. You can even end up with trauma if you're having sex with the wrong person.
Exactly. Yes, I believe like women go through a lot, like in terms of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and whatnot. So much stress as well, equally. So that is why it is mostly seen in women than men. Yes, yes. And when should you when do you understand that it's time to seek a doctor?
And that's actually a great question as well. So I would say what can happen is, and this actually happened to me, it can happen to where you have PTSD and you're not even aware of it, and you could live with it for years and not even know. And so what I recommend, if you're having any difficulties like with your brain, so this could be memory issues, you are having difficulty concentrating, maybe you're having problems in school with learning, so maybe you used to be like an A student, and then all of a sudden now you're not passing exams and you're, getting F's or D's. That's a sign that you need to really see a doctor. And I can give you an example. I remember I had PTSD for years, but I didn't know it. And then one day I remember I was driving, crossing state lines, and they had stopped me. And there was a gentleman that asked me, "Where are you coming from?" And I couldn't even tell him what city I lived in. That's how my brain was not functioning properly. I had poor memory. That was a sign right there that something was wrong.
And when we intrusive memories, then avoidance, negative thoughts, and changes in physical and emotional reactions is like these are the symptoms, common symptoms in a person with PTSD, right?
Yeah. So there's actually 4 types there, and this is based on the Mayo Clinic. So the Mayo Clinic states that there's intrusive memories, avoidance, negative thoughts, changes in physical, emotional reactions. So there's a lot of examples they provide, but I'll just give you a couple for each category. So for the intrusive memories, there's recurrent, unwanted, distressing memories of the traumatic event. Another example would be severe emotional distress or physical reactions to something that reminds you of the traumatic event. Okay. And so, for example, when I would say that I probably fit into that category. I told you about detaching earlier. So if you've been through abuse, you don't want to be looking at emails that the abuser sent to you in the past or looking at their picture. You need to detach because that can remind you of the traumatic event. Avoidance, trying to avoid thinking or talking about the traumatic event. Another example would be avoiding places, activities, or people that remind you of the traumatic event. So I think that I fit into this category as well, avoiding places. So when I went through the narcissistic abuse in a certain city with the narcissist, I don't want to go back to that city ever. That would bring back memories.
Yes.
Also, the next type would be negative changes in thinking and mood. So negative thoughts about yourself, other people, or the world, and hopelessness about the future, difficulty experiencing positive emotions. And I would say that's very true. You don't, for the most part, when you have PTSD, you don't feel joy most of the time. You have this closed heart chakra, so you just don't feel that joy and that love. And then also changes in physical, emotional reactions. So having, trouble concentrating, having anger, irritability.
Do you think there are people who has PTSD but have not gone to, because they do not know probably, so they have lived their entire lives with PTSD and have not gone to a doctor to check for it?
Yes, I would say that there's many people. I went through the same thing. I had it for years. I didn't know it.
And it's very difficult, like a person with PTSD, like I believe they even get excited for little things, but then the excitement doesn't last long, right?
Exactly. I would say, I mean, it can happen, but I'd say for the most part, you don't feel joy the majority of the time. And you don't feel the love. Your chakras are closed. Your heart chakra is closed. You don't feel the love. And then also I would say that with PTSD, because your health is unbalanced, your nervous system, your chakras are closed, there's a lot of chaos that can happen in your life externally. A lot of chaos. It's just like chaos constantly, a lot of suffering when, there's people that can, I would say that there's people that can have more of an easy life, but when you have PTSD, there's constantly obstacles in front of you. So after you get through one obstacle, there's another one and another one. There's all these life challenges. Very difficult life.
Okay, now let's talk about workplace stress and everything. So when in the workplace, so are there any PTSD related programs that employers can incorporate in their wellness programs to make their to help their employees?
Okay, and that's actually a good question. So let me tell you, I told you that I'm really into a natural approach to getting healthy, increasing energy, and overcoming PTSD. I love the natural holistic approach. So what I have found is that not one holistic modality will help to overcome PTSD because it's not enough. It's such a complex health condition. You have to have many holistic modalities together, numerous holistic modalities. So each of these can be added into the program, but one's not enough. So some of the examples I can provide here would be sound healing. I'm really getting into like the tuning forks. So I mentioned that sound will bring the trauma from the unconscious mind up to conscious awareness to be eliminated. Also, hair analysis is amazing. It tests for minerals and toxic metals. So people with PTSD, they're under a lot of stress, so they can be totally burnt out, weak adrenals, thyroid imbalances, mineral deficiencies. So the hair analysis tests for minerals, toxic metals. So a hair analysis is wonderful to identify the minerals as well as the toxic metals, and then you can take supplements to balance the mineral ratios on the hair analysis. And to eat healthy is important. So eating organic cooked vegetables 3 times a day. Animal protein is important. Healthy lifestyle. And then also, I would say quantum biofeedback. And I recommend everyone look into this. It's the most sophisticated health technology in the world, I believe. Desiree Dubonnet had invented this technology. It basically sends these signatures, and this is energetic medicine. It can even work long distance, which is amazing. So if I'm here, and I actually got certified in quantum biofeedback as well, but I could be working here in Arizona and work with a client that's in a different country or in another state, like long distance. This technology works. It reveals everything about your health. I think every doctor and every hospital should have this technology. Reveals information about your minerals, toxins, about your chakras, your aura, traumas you've been through, at what age. It just goes on and on and on. Also, another holistic modality I like is called Nest Health. People can look into that as well. It's associated. It's all about bioenergetics. So we have this Nest Health is about the study, detection, correction of energy and living systems. So it's all about we have a human body field that acts as a control system for the body's physical activity. And and I really like their software because it'll reveal information about a person's limiting beliefs, like about beliefs, also about emotions. And they have this My Health device as well that consists of the PEMF, and that's another thing that people need to look into is the PEMF.
Okay.
And you can actually, I don't know if you've heard of it, but I have experienced the PEMF, and you can use it like for different parts of your body, etc. But I have found in that you put it by your forehead, that can really increase your concentration, can really improve your focus. Because people with PTSD, they have concussions, they have so many brain problems. So this can help to increase concentration. I recommend all of these things that I'm suggesting. Of course, you want to talk to a doctor, right? Before you pursue any of these things, is always consult with the doctor. But also, another thing I wanted to mention is those with PTSD, they have upper back pain, they have a closed heart chakra. And so what can happen is, all these things are nice, like cupping, running cupping, massage, all these things are great, but it's not enough. I'm telling you, this pain is excruciating pain. It is so excruciating that more is needed. So I've been studying more about microcurrent. There's a famous doctor in Texas. His name is Dr. Tennant. So he has a biomodulator device, microcurrent for pain. Also, I'm looking into, and I've been studying the biomagnetic therapy, which is really good, like magnets for pain. You can place the magnets like on your body or on certain meridians, like for correct polarity placement as well. And I would say chiropractic is important because those with PTSD, they have spinal misalignments as well, and they can have tension in their neck as well. A lot of tension where they have like a decreased range of motion, and they have the upper back pain. So chiropractic care is very important. And I have other recommendations too, but these are really good holistic modalities for people with PTSD. And then also I wanted to mention that also in the future, after I finish all my education and I want to add some additional services and programs to my website in the future to help people with PTSD. But I basically just want to come out with a program where I'm combining all these holistic modalities together to help people with PTSD. But also, I want to mention that people can look into Dr. Jeffrey Thompson. He's a sound healing expert, and he's a doctor. And what he has said, and people, I want to emphasize, this is really important. People need to know this, that people with PTSD can have concussions.
Okay.
And so Dr. Thompson, who's a doctor, has even mentioned this, that people with PTSD can have concussions. He's talked about this. And so another really great tool, besides other tests, of course, is medical tests, is brain mapping. Okay. Can determine if you have a concussion. So like, I don't know if you've heard of neurofeedback before, but I'm not really a fan of neurofeedback, but when you get the neurofeedback, they do the brain mapping first. You don't have, and I'm not one that would even pursue the neurofeedback, but at least getting the brain mapping to determine what imbalances you have going on with your brain. And then there's another doctor. I'm a health and wellness speaker as well, because yes, I'm a health and wellness speaker. I love to speak in front of audiences to encourage people to get healthy and stay healthy, taking a natural approach. And I had a radio show on Voice America for quite many years. And I would interview people, and I wanted to have this doctor on my show, but it never happened in the past. I no longer have my show. I'll probably start another show in the future, but I'm taking a break right now. But I wanted to have this doctor on my show. His name is Dr. Eugene. His last name is Lipov. He's a medical doctor. And he discovered that people with PTSD through functional MRIs have physical brain injuries.
Okay, so some of the things which you mentioned, like sound healing, employers can actually incorporate make their programs design their programs in a way that they can incorporate these things into their programs. Also, there can be awareness workshops and seminars about PTSD, right? So that employees are more aware of their own conditions.
Absolutely. Yep. like having like seminars to educate people about the PTSD. I think that's actually important because like we talked about earlier, there's people that have PTSD, they don't even know it. So you're right. So bringing awareness, educating people on PTSD is so important. And then you brought up the sound healing. That's perfect. That's the perfect start, in my personal opinion. I'm going to tell you something. Meditation is not enough for PTSD because, like, if you have an addiction, like I had an eating disorder, meditation's great for addictions, but it's not going to help people with PTSD because they have so many imbalances going on. Their nervous system is unbalanced. They have closed heart chakras. They need more. And so they need something very powerful. Sound is very powerful. It will bring up the trauma from the unconscious mind to conscious awareness. So if employers would start with that, it's going to help tremendously.
Absolutely. Okay, Kristen. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had a great time. Like, it was very insightful for me as well because I myself did not know much about PTSD in that way. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And I hope you also had a pretty good session with us.
Yes, I did. I really enjoyed conversing with you, and I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. It really means a lot to me. And I just had a couple of more thoughts here, just a couple of more comments for your listeners.
Sure.
So I just want to let people know that if you have PTSD, what's most important is never giving up. It can take years and decades, but I'm hoping that I can give people a shortcut in the future. But it's all about never giving up. Every day can be chaotic. It's going to be tough, and you just have to keep going. You have to push yourself. And also, it's important to have boundaries. It's okay to cut people out of your life if you're disrespected. People with PTSD can be codependent. That's something that they can have. But this is another thing I wanted to mention, is that your intuition can be blocked as well when you have PTSD because your chakras are closed. You could have blocked intuition. So what helped me, and this is just my personal experience, is there were times it's very difficult to make a decision when you have PTSD because your intuition's blocked. It's very difficult to make decisions in your life. So what helped me in the past is there are some spiritual people that have these spiritual gifts, like light workers, star seeds, and some of them have spiritual gifts where they can do channeling, like they can provide like channeled messages, like on YouTube. So there can be sometimes, or you can have a personal reading, or they do general readings on YouTube where if you're seeking an answer, you might resonate. You might not resonate with everything, but there might be a certain message where you really resonate and feel like that's like a sign from the universe that that's the right answer for you. That helped me. I'll be honest with you, that helped me when I was going through PTSD. But also, Eckhart Tolle, he's a spiritual teacher. He has the book The Power of Now, which changed my life when I had my eating disorder. Okay. He mentioned that, and I really love him and I love his book, but he mentioned when you're going through a difficult situation, this can help you if you're going through a difficult situation and you don't know what to do. He says you have three choices. You have three choices, or three ways that you can. One is you can change the situation, you can remove yourself from the situation, or you surrender to the situation. So that can help somewhat. Also, if you're having difficulty with your intuition, because meditation's very difficult when you have PTSD. You can sit quiet and meditate, but it doesn't really work too well for PTSD. But if you're still having problems making a decision, another thing you can do is sometimes if you keep busy, it can actually help where the answer will come to you. So let's say you're busy running errands in town or driving, sometimes the answer will come to you that way when you're busy. That's happened to me before. Okay. When I was driving. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, I'll let you go because we've been talking quite a bit here, is I believe that more research needs to be done in the future in regards to PTSD, because I think we need to go beyond the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. They have criteria that you have to meet in order to say that you have, like, the PTSD. But I think we need to go beyond that. We need to do more research. We need to start focusing more on the physical examination We talked about the concussion, those 2 doctors that mentioned concussions. We need to start looking at concussions and examining the tongue as well. So I feel like more research is needed, and we need to go beyond the DSM-5.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, Kristen, again, for sharing everything, all this information with us. I hope it helps our listeners, and probably people with PTSD, they can actually be more aware of themselves. Thank you so much.
Yes, yep, you're welcome, and I thank you for letting me come on your show. And every day, just think about what you can do to improve your health. Every single day, what can I, even if it's a baby step, what can I do today to improve my health? Should I listen to my sound? Should I eat my organic vegetables? Should I get some sunshine? That's what you should be focusing on every day. And I want to thank you, and I just wanted to mention to you, I know you'll have my bio there, but I have the 2 websites as well at perfecthealthconsultingservices.com. And then my health and wellness speaking website is KristenHarperSpeaks.com. But again, I want to thank you. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks for listening to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast. Please do subscribe to Vantage Fit Corporate Wellness Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and our YouTube channel for new episodes.